magnetic resonance imaging, or MRI, is a way to take detailed pictures of stuff inside the body from the brain to the limbs. There's structural MRI, which shows up in black and white, and functional MRI, which has some colorful patches lighting it up. In this video, we'll talk about structural MRI. So, hydrogen, like any other element, exists as atoms, and each one has this thing called spin. It's like an axis that humans draw on it as a reference point indicating a magnetic property. And in an environment where these atoms are left alone, the angle of their spins will all be different, random, and will change according to their very own surroundings. Whenever hydrogen atoms are exposed to something like radiation, an electric field, a magnetic field, or any other electromagnetic disturbances, that spin is thrown off kilter. And it takes a certain amount of time for that spin to align with the disturbance and to right itself to what it was before. This duration is what's important in MRI. The vast majority of the body's tissues all have water embedded in it, which makes sense considering that 70% of the body is water. And the brain is absolutely not an exception to that. You know what water contains a lot of? Hydrogen. The time for the hydrogen atoms to right their spin will change depending on where in the body we're taking pictures, as each part will have different amounts of water and different tissue compositions. In the brain alone, there's all kinds of tissues. There's the skull, which is made up of really dense bone. Then there's the white matter cortex, the gray matter subcortex, the spaces between them and within the brain, and the liquid in the brain. All with different amounts of water and with different times for that spin to right itself. As to what actually happens within the scanner, there will be a pulse of magnetic field, which is just a blanket of magnetism flowing in one direction. This magnetic field will make the spin of the hydrogen atoms align with it, and the hydrogen atoms in some tissues will take longer to do this than others. Then there will come a second pulse different to that first magnetic field, and this will throw the hydrogen atoms way out of alignment. You can also measure the time it takes for these atoms to realign themselves with the original magnetic field. And you do this for a bunch of really thin slices of the brain, which is why it takes so long to put the scan together. So really and truly, magnetic resonance imaging measures the time it takes for those hydrogen atom spins to orient themselves, and it turns it into a picture we can interpret. From here, we can look at how much chemical is in your brain, the thickness of the cortex, the volume of the subcortex, and a bunch of different applications we use in our lab.